People who grew up poor, what did you used to think was normal? Story 1. Skipping lunch or dinner periodically. So one of us could have all 3 meals. Like Tuesdays plus Thursday plus Sunday, I didn't eat dinner, but my mom plus little brother did. And every other day, my mom didn't eat lunch or dinner, so me and my brother could. I only started skipping meals for my mom because she was getting physically sick from not eating. My mom having to buy a new 3,000 car every couple of years because her previous one broke down, and we don't have enough to repair it. Coming home to see the water/electricity were off. Having to buy jugs of water at the dollar store so we could flush the toilet. Leaving a giant hole in the entryway where water had leaked through because we just couldn't afford to repair it. Not having heat or air conditioning. Having to bathe with water jugs, plus waking up and realizing our washing machine had broken down again. So I'd rub my dirty clothes with washing detergent to try to mask the stale scent clothing gets when it hasn't been washed. To this day, people making comments about something smelling weird, even if not directed at me, makes me have major anxiety attacks. Only having one pair of super cheap shoes that we'd have to wear until they fell apart. The amount of times I tripped over the soles of my own shoes in my high school hallways was ridiculous. Skipping meals is just sad and something no one should ever have to go through. I'm so sorry. I hope you and your family are doing much better now financially. It really makes me think back and appreciate everything I had growing up, and even now, and how much I've taken for granted. Story 2. I knew it wasn't normal, but we didn't have heat or air conditioning in my house. We used a wood stove in the oven to heat the first floor, and the second floor was usually freezing. When the weather turned hot, we were just hot. Yes, you take a glass of water up with you at night in cold months, and it would have ice on top by morning. Of course, being poor, the beds were shared, which helped you sleep warmer. We had a box fan upstairs that blew the hot air out one window at night, with windows open downstairs to draw in cooler air overnight. Windows were braced above so that they couldn't be opened further than a few inches, and beer cans with a few coins inside on top of each to wake the house if someone tried to knock it loose. Poor man's burglar alarm. Then at first light, all the windows were shut up tight, and heavy drapes closed to block out the heat of the day. We lived in dim lights most of the summers, which is very odd when you think of it. As someone who is constantly somewhat hot, I couldn't ever survive in a situation like that, and I'm so sorry you all had to. You guys are a lot braver than me. Story 3. I'm female if it matters. My family's budget fluctuates a lot. In our poorest years, I thought it was normal to wear my brother's hand-me-downs and make them last as long as possible. Like until my pants were so short that 3 or so inches of my ankle were showing. Gotta make those clothes last 10 years at least. Also, when our dad started making enough money that he could splurge and buy steak, I thought steak was nasty. Turns out my dad could only afford the cheapest, gnarliest cut of steak possible. Basically, I would chew and chew only to have it turn to meat gum in my mouth. It was totally unedible. So I wondered why all the wealthy families like steak so much. Oh my god, making pants last that long must have been so hard. Especially once you start going through growth spurts, etc. Story 4. I was totally shocked when I learned that some people go out to eat more than once a year. Also when I learned there are people who don't skip meals. I was shocked to find out people eat out on a regular day, like not on anyone's birthday or any other celebration. I remember being so happy when my mom rewarded me with a fast food fried chicken meal for school achievements in elementary school. When I was an undergraduate, my sister told me my mom would skimp on their meals just to buy me those. Your mom cared for you so much if she was willing to do that. She deserves the world, and no family deserves to have to skip any meal. Story 5. Cleaning your plate. I honestly still do. If I pay for food, I'm gonna eat it all, and if not, I will save it. So many people I've eaten with leave food and it's just disposed of. Heck, my stepdad didn't realize that for 14 years. Leftovers? Trash. Me? Nah. My mother single-handedly raised 2 boys. We don't do waste. Speaking as someone who grew up with plenty of money, this isn't solely restricted to poor people. I mean, it's perfectly good food. Why waste it? And leftovers are great. You can just pop them into a microwave and near instantly get good food. What more could you want? There's really people out here not taking leftovers home. Sometimes that's the best part of going out to eat. Knowing when you wake up tomorrow, you can just have some easy good food instead of having to make anything. Story 6. I never saw my parents because they worked so much. When I was in elementary school, we lived in an apartment above the bar they owned. My time with them was spent working in the kitchen, doing homework at the bar, and then walking upstairs to put myself in bed. We eventually moved, and I was always alone. From Wednesday morning through Saturday, I would wake up and walk to school, come home, make dinner, do homework, and go to bed, with no contact from an adult. This continued through secondary school, from 6th through 12th grade. I was so incredibly lonely, but it was normal for me. I can imagine how my world would have been different if they didn't need to work so much to scrape by. This one just hurts. I bet your parents felt awful about not spending much time with you, and I really hope you all got to make up that time later in life. Family time is some of the best time you could have. Story 7. Using laundry detergent, soap, bar soap, or whatever kind of soap you can scrape together to wash your hair. Picking fruits from the trees and bushes next to your sidewalk and canning it. Bringing home blown mushrooms from the Safeway dumpster and drying them under the wood stove to use in soups. Mom getting your Christmas gifts secondhand from the flea market. Getting your school clothes secondhand from the flea market. Powdered milk. Lots of pots of soup, all year round. Saving wrapping paper and bows from your birthday parties we went to so that we'd have something to wrap our gifts in. Mom slept in the living room so me and my brother could have our own rooms. Bringing peanut butter on bread and sliced carrots and celery to school for lunch. every day, collecting aluminum cans from people's recycling bins to cash in to have the $2 to go to the school dance. Now, I've used bar soap on my hair before just because I ran out of shampoo, but laundry detergent just sounds awful and terrible for your hair. I'm so sorry. Story 8. Not me, but my dad grew up dirt poor in India. We're upper class in the US now. He would tell me he would get shoes. Not new shoes, just shoes. So India is primarily a Hindu nation and there are temples everywhere. People leave their shoes and sandals in front of the temple before entering in order not to drag dirt into the temple. So my dad would go to a temple to pray, he would ask God for a pair of shoes, and just walk out with someone else's shoes that fit. Rinse and repeat. Well, I mean, he did ask God first. Story 9. Never traveling, out of the country or state. Kids always talked about where they travel during breaks. During summer vacation, for example. I think it was a grade 6 project in September, and we had to draw maps to geographic locations where we went that summer. My map was just a town of going to the grocery store and church and stuff. Hopefully it made my teacher rethink that project for the future. Not traveling, out of the country at least. Doesn't seem to be too uncommon lately. Most likely due to the price of everything going up, but still, that's kind of a weird project to make everyone in the class do. Story 10. As a kid, I didn't know there were multiple settings on a water heater. I assumed everyone had to wait an hour or so after someone used the shower to get some hot water going. I'm embarrassed to admit that I recently found out about continuous flow of hot water 5 years ago. I was 25. I spent the weekend at my then future in-law's house. The conversation went something like this. Fiance, I didn't go shower before dinner. Me, but your brother just got out 5 minutes ago. Fiance explains how they never run out of hot water. My mind was blown. I remember when my water was like this. My world was flipped upside down once we got a new water heater, and I could actually enjoy my showers and not rush through them, or have to wait forever after someone was just in there. Such a great feeling. Story 11. Everyone in the house went into the kitchen to see what groceries were brought home. Also, now that my family is doing a lot better than when I was growing up, we find ourselves hoarding food excited as if it was Christmas, stocking up on canned goods, buying things in bulk on sale, as if we're waiting for those rainy days to hit again. Finally one where I know the family's doing better. So happy for you guys. Story 12. Only having lunch at school, like that being the only meal of the day. I learned when I was like 10. Then I started saving my food and bringing it home so my brother and sister could eat. I brought this up to my coworker the other day and it kind of blew her mind. It wasn't something she ever thought about. I had said something about the current school closing sucking for kids who only got to eat at school. So many people don't realize this is still to this day a thing. The fact that you have to save it so your siblings could eat is just so heartbreaking. And it kills me knowing there are still kids having to do that now. Story 13. I thought one pair of shoes was normal till the 10th grade. My spouse grew up poor and this was an issue for him. One pair of shoes and they were cheap Payless or knockoffs. They didn't last and that was too bad. No other shoes to wear. He is big on his kids having name brand shoes and more than one pair. He don't go wild and spend exorbitant amounts on shoes, but it's something that my spouse insists on spending some money on. It's just something he has bad memories about. I bet he feels really proud being able to buy them nice shoes. And if he has the money, why not spend some extra on good name brands? At least you know they'll last. Story 14. 7 to 14 years old, going to school, then going to work. After school, delivering newspapers and also collecting their payments. Never a day off. One time we had so much snow that the post office closed. Yeah, my little cat had to deliver. Latchkey kid at 10 years old because parents worked. Being a girl, I was also responsible for cooking dinner for my father and older brothers, and other household chores. I was also expected to excel at school. I did. My schedule was so strict. One thing I hated the most were science fairs. All the rich kids had so much help and confidence. Then there was me with a piece of cardboard, loads of stress and anxiety. Story 15. I grew up thinking food was scarce. Whenever we went anywhere with my mom would tell me and my sisters to not accept food from people. She didn't want our hunger to be someone else's burden. Now that I'm in college and going places, like my boyfriend's family's house, it's seen as rude to refuse food. My automatic response is to politely refuse even if I hadn't eaten all day. Even after years and now being able to mostly get by myself, it still sometimes feels like being hungry is a normal state. Sometimes I still forget to eat. My stomach will tell me I'm hungry, but because it was so ingrained in me that hunger is normal, I typically won't realize I'm hungry until I get a headache. Hunger headaches are one of the worst kinds. I'm so sorry that's ingrained in you, and I hope with time you grow out of that kind of thinking. Story 16. Shopping at thrift stores. It wasn't until I got to high school that no one else shopped there, or the fact that a lot of our stuff came from secondhand markets and things like that. It was like this for a long time. Only poor people shopped at thrift stores. Now it's in fashion, so tons of wealthy people go there looking to score on something neat. That's just so shady. They already have tons of store they can go and get cool stuff at. But now that thrifting is all trendy, they just go there and pay whatever to get the best stuff. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with rich people going thrifting. I've just heard of a few stories of some real pieces of work shopping there. Story 17. Growing up, whenever winter came, we used to pull all the blankets out of the closet and bundle up at night. We didn't have working heat, and most nights it would go way below freezing. I always looked forward to it though, and would love getting gathered up in a million blankets and sit next to the space heater. I also shared a small room with both my sisters, and slept on one twin bed with them. My brothers did the same thing in the room across from us. Now that does sound kind of fun and cozy, but not when it's your only option and it's every night all night. Story 18. I still think the concept of family road trips is super weird. Like it's only something I know from movies. I didn't leave my Providence until I was 22 with my friend. When I went to rich kids' houses, I was in awe of the kitchen pantry. You mean you can walk into it? How many different cereals do you have? Story 19. For my school's Spirit Week, they had a thrift shop day, where most everyone dressed in old ratty clothes or the weirdest stuff they could find in a thrift store. Needless to say, as someone whose clothes were 80% secondhand, it was an eye-opener. Story 20. Getting gifts from the Salvation Army. Layaway for school clothes. Fares for free school supplies. Mom and dad are working 2 jobs. Sharing everything. Story 21. Going on vacation to the local hotel in our hometown. We got to play in the pool and order delivery pizza, a rare treat, and we always had a blast. How can you not when you got pizza? Story 22. Coming home from school to find that our water or electricity was turned off, and my dad rushed home to turn it on himself, which is illegal. Hey, anything's legal if the cops aren't around, right? Story 23. Having sleep for dinner. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more videos to come, or else this spider will be in your bed tonight.